Today's day 40 out of 100 bold, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't really know what to talk about today. Until I realized that when you open the Bible, the number 40 shows up at moments where everything is about to shift. And the pattern is always the same. Before life takes you somewhere new, you go through a season that toughens you up. Jesus had 40 days alone in the wilderness. Moses had 40 days alone on the mountain. Noah had 40 days of nonstop rain. And the Israelites had 40 years of wandering. These were different situations with different people, but the same story. Before anything big happens, you go through a phase where life forces you to grow up inside. And honestly, this is exactly what my first 40 days out of 100 bold feel like. So I went into the Bible and I started looking up these stories to see what it was like, and maybe I could learn something from it. So I'm going to share them with you. There's something really interesting that I noticed in the 40-day pattern. Jesus didn't spend 40 days in the wilderness for fun. It was a mentally brutal season that made him unshakable. Moses didn't spend 40 days on the mountain for the aesthetic. He actually needed his space to get his head right before leading people. And when you think about it, Noah's 40 days of rain weren't the end. They were the reset before a fresh start. And Israel didn't wander for 40 years because they were bad with directions. They weren't mentally ready for what they prayed for. So every 40 season is basically, you're not ready yet, but you're becoming ready. And that is so true for what I'm experiencing right now. These first 40 days weren't about going viral or killing it online or having everything be done perfectly. This was actually the part where I had to face myself. And that was the hard part. Not the filming, not the posting, the honesty. The honesty of pressing record when I don't feel confident, of talking when I'd rather be quiet, being seen when I don't feel like I look my best, or posting when I know it's not perfect, and being committed to showing up every single day and not just once a month. And this was the part where I felt like my old habits were pulling me back. I find it interesting that people romanticize growth. They think it's cute, it has a certain aesthetic to it, it's motivating, but the wilderness feels like uncomfortable silence, overthinking, no external validation, no obvious progress, and it's you versus you. And that's what these 40 days have been. Not dramatic, not emotional, just quietly difficult. Every day I had to deal with hesitation, perfectionism, fear of being judged, wanting to hide, wanting to wait until I felt ready. This challenge didn't expose my weaknesses, it exposed my excuses. If we look at Noah's story, it's basically a giant reset button. 40 days of rain washed away what wasn't meant to continue. And that's what these 40 days did for me. They washed out procrastination, waiting, hiding, overthinking, inconsistency, and definitely the "I'll start tomorrow" version of me. And it wasn't all at once. I noticed it day by day. And I feel like I can breathe again. This season didn't destroy me, it actually cleared space. When Moses went up to the mountain, he went up with questions and came down with clarity. And not overnight, just long enough to hear himself think. And that's what consistency does. Around day 20, I was annoyed. Around day 30, I wanted to skip a day. Around day 35, something shifted. But by day 40, I realized I'm starting to trust myself more. And not because I'm perfect, but because I'm showing up even when I'm not. That's the real confidence builder, following through on the things you said you'd do. The Israelites weren't wandering because they didn't know where to go. They wandered because they were still stuck in the past. Now tell me that's not all of us. We want the next level, but we're still thinking like the old version of ourselves. We want growth, but avoid discomfort. We want visibility, but we hide. And we want consistency, but only when we feel good. And the first 40 days forced me to break those patterns, slowly, daily, internally. Now, before Jesus started anything public, before people followed him, before anything big happened, there was a season where life got quiet and uncomfortable. And I think everyone has a season where life strips away the noise and you can hear yourself clearly. And these 40 days felt like that. Every day I had to choose, do I show up? Do I push through? Do I stay consistent even if I'm over it? And not for the content, but for the person I'm trying to become. And somewhere around day 37, something really clicked. And it wasn't a big moment, it was a really small one actually. I realized that I don't need to feel bold to be bold. Confidence comes after the reps, not before it. Consistency really builds self-respect. Doing something daily makes fear smaller, and there is truly no perfect moment. I have always tried to plan these videos and I never filmed them on time. And these are all things you and I know. Nothing magical happened, but something very real did. And it's that the old version of me stopped running the show. I was watching back to day 1 of this series, and I was looking at it, and I thought to myself, wow, I had a full script. I was super nervous. I tried to put my makeup on. I had my hair straightened. Everything felt perfect. But I feel way more authentic right now than how I was on day 1. And all the fears I had are not here anymore at all. So here's what day 40 of this challenge actually means for me. And maybe you can relate, whether it's you've been doing something consistent for 40 days or you're about to start your journey. This is what you could probably expect by day 40. These are some of the reframes that I've started to write down in my journal, so I'm going to share them with you. I'm not transformed. I'm just not the person who quits early anymore. I'm not fearless. I'm just not the person who lets fear make my decisions. And I'm not perfect. I'm just committed. The Bible shows that 40 isn't an ending. It's a turning point. It's the moment where old patterns are gone and new ones finally start to form. Day 1 was the choice, but day 40 is the shift. And I feel like the next 60 days is where things get real, where the internal changes start showing up externally, where the habits start paying off, where my consistency starts turning into momentum. Because if there's anything I learned in my first 40 days, it's this: you become bold long enough before the world sees it. And now, this is only the beginning. There's no such thing as overnight success. This is day 40 out of 100 bold. I appreciate you, and I hope you crush it today. I'll see you tomorrow at 7 a.m. And remember, to act bold, you need to be kid brave again. Bye.